Let Them Theory was written by Mel Robbins and summarized by Story Scoops. It's, a powerful idea for gaining personal happiness and control. This theory suggests that instead of trying to control other people's actions or feelings, we should let go. So many people try too hard to please others and worry too much about others' opinions, which often leads to feeling unsatisfied and disappointed. By adopting the let them mindset, we accept that we can't change others and can focus on our own lives and happiness. The author shares a personal story about their son Oakley's high school prom. The preparations were stressful, and there was pressure to make everything perfect. In a moment of reflection, the author's daughter Kendall advised them to let Oakley and his friends make their own choices and learn from their experiences. This was a turning point for the author, changing their perspective on parenting and personal freedom. The story emphasizes spending quality time with family instead of stressing over uncontrollable situations. Many have found the let them theory to greatly enhance their lives. In Chapter 2 of the book, the author explores the let them theory further. A personal story is shared about feeling excluded when friends left for a trip without involving the author. This experience brought back feelings of insecurity, similar to those from school days. Instead of dwelling on these emotions, the author embraced the let them approach, which encourages accepting others' choices without trying to fix or control the situation. This chapter also discusses the balance between let them and let me. Let them is about letting go of others' actions, while let me focuses on taking responsibility for one's own emotions and actions. By balancing these, individuals can better manage their emotions and reactions. The author connects these ideas to timeless and modern thoughts on emotional control, highlighting that maintaining control over our own reactions is key to well-being. The chapter encourages readers to actively build their social lives and reminds them that their happiness is their own responsibility. Using both let them and let me helps people deal with life's challenges and maintain fulfilling relationships. The author addresses the stress common in modern life caused by others' actions and everyday irritations. The let them theory helps people rise above these stressors by letting go of trying to control the uncontrollable. The author describes everyday stressors like slow service or traffic and warns against letting these irritations dictate emotions. The chapter explains that stress often stems from automatic reactions to external events. The author shares insights from Dr. Aditi Narukar from Harvard Medical School, who explains how stress affects the brain. The prefrontal cortex is involved in decision-making, while the amygdala is linked to stress responses, which can lead to quick, unfavorable reactions. Recognizing when the stress response is triggered is important, and using the let them approach can help regain control over emotions. Practically, this involves pausing during stress, accepting what can't be changed, let them, and then focusing on one's response, let me. The author urges readers to understand that they have power over their reactions, which can reduce stress and promote well-being, leading to a more peaceful life free from unnecessary stress. In Chapter 4, the author talks about handling stress, especially stress from work, by using two approaches: let them and let me. Work can cause a lot of stress because of things like bosses who don't listen, not being recognized for your efforts, having too much work, or just feeling unhappy with your job. A lot of people feel stuck in their jobs, which leads to tiredness and frustration. But the author emphasizes that advancing in your career is really your own responsibility, not just your boss's job. She suggests we change how we think. Don't let a difficult boss or a tough job situation control your feelings. Instead, take back your power. Focus on what you can do, like improving your skills or looking for new jobs, rather than worrying about things you can't change. The Let Me approach is about taking action to improve your own situation, which puts you back in control of your job and your life. The chapter includes stories like one about a careless dog owner to show that different situations need different reactions. Sometimes it's best to speak up, but other times it's better to let go. Ultimately, the author says everyone can choose their response and should direct energy toward personal and professional growth opportunities. In the audiobook's fourth chapter, the focus is on managing work stress using Let Them and Let Me. It starts by recognizing work as a major source of stress, kind of like a difficult marriage. Stress at work often comes from things like unfulfilled promotions, micromanaging bosses, and feeling undervalued. The text emphasizes that, since you often can't control your boss's decisions, you need a positive mindset about your career. This is where the Let Me mindset becomes really important. Instead of being upset about not being recognized, think about what you can do, like updating your resume and searching for new jobs. It highlights that, in unhappy work situations, you can take charge of your career and not just wait for things to change. The Let Me idea allows you to control your reaction to stress and make choices that help you grow and find satisfaction. Examples, including a story about a dog owner in a park or the stress from talking politics, show you can move from just reacting to actually having a plan to deal with stress. By using Let Them, you learn to walk away from situations you can't control, while the Let Me approach encourages personal action for positive change. The text also explores Let Them theory, encouraging you to stop worrying about other people's opinions. The author shares personal stories to show how fear of judgment can hold you back. Inspired by poet Mary Oliver's question about life's purpose, it urges you to pursue your passions without worrying. Pressure from society and fear of criticism can block creativity, motivation, and happiness. By adopting Let Them think what they want, you free yourself from worrying about others and start taking bold steps toward your goals. The author shares tips from motivational speaking to show that being true to yourself can lead to big personal and professional changes. In Chapter 6, How to Love Difficult People, the author explores how family relationships can be way more tangled than those with friends or coworkers. Family often plays a bigger part in our lives, so their opinions and criticisms hit harder. Usually, they want the best for us, even if their way of showing it can be tough to handle. The book introduces the Let Them theory. It says we should let family members express their opinions without trying to change them. This helps us keep a positive mindset and manage how we react to their criticism. The author compares family dynamics to a spider web, where everything is connected and changes can shake the whole structure. She shares stories, like her mother's disapproval of her marriage, to show why it's crucial to understand each family member's perspective. By using Let Them and Let Me, we can improve family relationships by aiming for understanding and personal growth. Families often have strong opinions and expectations. Realizing this helps us handle these dynamics with compassion and clear thinking. Living genuinely is important, and it's crucial to remember that everyone can have their own opinions, no matter how different they are from ours. The book also talks about the Let Them theory and how it helps manage our emotional responses and those of people who may not control their emotions well. The author shares personal experiences, noting that adults sometimes act like children when emotions take over. It emphasizes that we're not in charge of how others react. We should let emotions happen naturally and work on our own empowerment. It encourages setting boundaries, being kind, and growing emotionally. In Chapter 8, The Right Decision Often Feels Wrong, Mel Robbins tackles the stress that comes with making big life choices, especially those that might upset the people around us. She shares a story about someone who is engaged but starts feeling really anxious as the wedding date gets closer. This person worries about disappointing family and friends and feels stressed about even considering canceling the wedding. Robbins points out that sometimes, even when we know we're making the right decision, it can just feel wrong because we don't want to hurt anyone. She urges us to focus on our own truths and not to be afraid of how others might react emotionally. Emotions, she says, shouldn't be the boss of our choices. It's good to think about how our decisions affect other people, but at the end of the day, our own well-being has to come first. Robbins introduces the Let Them theory. Basically, she suggests we let others experience their feelings and not take responsibility for those reactions. She compares dealing with emotional discomfort to riding a wave. It's tough, but it's something we can handle. By embracing this idea, we can face tough decisions, knowing that even if they feel wrong in the moment, they're actually right for our happiness and integrity. Robbins highlights that emotional maturity looks different for everyone. And honestly, it's important not to let how others react control what we do. She encourages us to take charge of our lives by making choices that really reflect our own values and being honest with ourselves, even when it's not easy. Part of this is giving others the freedom to respond however they need to. The text also talks about chronic comparison, that habit of always measuring ourselves against others, which, let's face it, usually just makes us unhappy. The truth is, comparing ourselves to others doesn't make sense because everyone's life is unique and in its own way, a little unfair. The let them theory comes up again here, suggesting we should let others succeed without feeling envious. Instead, we should focus on recognizing our own potential and working hard to shape our own lives. It's not about the cards you're dealt, but how you play them. This way of thinking really encourages self-empowerment by letting go of those harmful comparisons and putting our energy into personal growth. Moving into Chapter 10, the audiobook talks about using comparisons as a tool for self-improvement, rather than letting them drag us down. The let them theory suggests that we look at other people's success as inspiration, not competition. Realizing that someone else's achievements don't limit our own possibilities can actually turn jealousy into motivation. The chapter shares some personal stories about how hard work and discipline can totally transform lives. It really emphasizes that we have to take responsibility for our own path, seeing others as guides instead of obstacles. Comparisons can actually show us where we need to grow, kind of like signposts on the way to our goals. And then, building friendships as an adult, well, it can be pretty challenging. A lot of people feel lonely as they move from those easy childhood connections to the more complicated world of adult relationships. This phase is sometimes called the Great Scattering. After school, people move to different places and different stages of life, which makes keeping old friendships going pretty tough. When we were kids, we had this built-in structure that made it easy to see friends all the time. The let them theory suggests we adjust our expectations for friendship, letting go of the idea that we need constant closeness. Things like proximity, timing, and energy really matter in forming and keeping friendships. By understanding all of this, adults can build new relationships and maintain the old ones, making their social lives and emotional well-being a lot richer. In Chapter 12, the author shares some of her own experiences with friendship and how those relationships can really change as we get older. She describes a time when she and her husband, Chris, were part of a lively community with other families whose kids were the same age. They enjoyed all kinds of social activities and made new connections. When their closest friends moved into the neighborhood from out of state, it was super exciting at first. But before long, it led to feelings of jealousy and even exclusion as those friends started forming bonds with other families. The author talks about how just living close to someone can really affect how friendships develop and last. She opens up about her own feelings, jealousy, anger, and insecurity, and realizes how important emotional maturity is in handling these ups and downs. She points out that negative emotions, if we're not careful, can really hurt our friendships. By the end of the chapter, she emphasizes the importance of being flexible, kind, and really putting in the effort to stay involved in friendships. She introduces her let them theory again, suggesting that we accept changes in friendships as a natural part of personal growth and life events. She ends with a hopeful message. Meaningful friendships can always be renewed, no matter how much time has passed or how far apart you might be. Chapter 13 focuses on forming meaningful friendships during major life changes. The author talks about feeling lonely after moving to a new town and really insists on the importance of actively seeking friendships rather than just waiting for them to happen. She describes the 3 pillars of friendship, proximity, timing, and energy, as a helpful framework for creating connections. The author also shares her daughter's difficulties in making friends after starting college and suggests, giving yourself a year to form lasting friendships. One important takeaway is the let them theory, which encourages starting conversations and connecting with others, even if it means being a bit vulnerable. Some practical tips include engaging with people in everyday situations, giving compliments, and following up on shared interests to build a supportive social network. The author stresses that everyone is looking for friendship, no matter their age, and there's always an opportunity for new connections. This narrative introduces the let them theory as a really impactful concept. It emphasizes that people change only when they are ready and willing. This idea is crucial for maintaining healthy relationships because, honestly, trying to force changes often leads to conflicts, resentment, and distance. Through personal stories and research, the speaker highlights common situations where people attempt to change their loved ones' behaviors. This strategy usually fails and just creates a cycle of resistance. The let them theory advocates for an approach based on understanding and acceptance, suggesting that respecting others' autonomy can better motivate change. The main lesson is that fostering change and maintaining healthy relationships is best achieved by allowing people to live their lives on their own terms, while also focusing on self-improvement. Chapter 15 talks about encouraging change in others through positive influence instead of pressure. Pressure makes people resist, while positive behavior can inspire change. We are deeply affected by the actions and attitudes of those around us. By showing good behavior, we create an environment that encourages others to follow. The chapter presents the ABC loop, a method to help these conversations. It includes 3 steps: apologize and ask open-ended questions, back off and observe, and celebrate any progress. The key idea is that adults do things they want, and changing them requires patience, understanding, and acceptance of their journey. The text explores how to support someone with serious struggles, emphasizing the let them theory. Adults change only when ready, and forcing change often backfires. It highlights the difference between enabling and supporting. Enabling means making excuses for bad behavior, while true support encourages them to deal with issues independently. Personal stories and expert opinions show lessons from watching loved ones with addiction and mental health challenges. Acceptance of someone's struggle and letting them face their actions' results is essential for genuine support. The text suggests a mindset shift. Act as a supportive presence, empowering loved ones to overcome challenges. Chapter 17 focuses on supporting loved ones without enabling harmful behaviors. The main lesson is to set clear rules for financial help, especially with family in need. Unconditional financial support can encourage bad behaviors and actually stop people from reaching their lowest point. It's crucial to set boundaries and conditions for financial support to ensure honesty and responsibility. Personal stories and expert advice explain financial enabling consequences, offering practical tips for supporting others in ways that foster independence and growth. Creating a supportive environment involves active communication, showing love, and believing in others' abilities to manage their problems. A balanced approach lets them face outcomes while assisting in ways that empower improvement. So, in this final chapter, let's talk about self-love and choosing the kind of love you truly deserve. There's this idea called the let them theory, which is all about letting others show their true feelings and, honestly, not wasting your energy chasing after love that isn't returned. It's a gentle reminder that when all is said and done, love is the most important connection we have in life. No matter if you're single, dating, or already in a relationship, there's always room for deeper love and fulfillment. The chapter lays out what makes dating successful, suggesting that, instead of obsessively searching for a partner, you keep your standards high and focus on discovering yourself. Dating should really be about learning what you want, and maybe even more importantly, what you just won't accept. Helping you handle the ups and downs with resilience. It cautions against making excuses for poor treatment and urges you to recognize your worth, knowing that the right person will choose to be with you willingly. Everyone's journey is unique, and with patience and emotional honesty, you can find the love you truly deserve. In Chapter 19, we dive into the challenges of commitment in relationships, focusing on 2 main situations. First, there are people who keep ending up with partners who just can't or won't commit. Then, there are couples who feel uncertain about where their relationship is headed. This chapter encourages you to take a look at your past relationships to see if you might be drawn to unavailable partners because of emotional needs or even childhood experiences. It really stresses the importance of being honest and straightforward when talking about commitment. It's about valuing yourself and your time, and not settling for less than you deserve. By letting go of relationships that aren't healthy, you can actually open the door to better connections in the future. Now, Chapter 20, called How Every Ending is a Beautiful Beginning, is all about navigating the complexities of committed relationships. It focuses on the tough decision of whether to keep working on a relationship or to end it. A lot of people struggle with figuring out if the problems they're facing can be fixed or if they're just too big, like fundamental differences. The author, who has nearly 30 years of marriage experience, puts a spotlight on the importance of mutual effort, compromise, and acceptance in any relationship. One big idea here is the let them theory, which suggests accepting your partner as they are, instead of hoping they'll change. While it's totally normal to want some changes, the real question is whether you can genuinely accept your partner as they are. Open communication and positive behavior are key, and it's important to be patient if change is needed. Often, the issues that stick around are rooted in deep differences in values or dreams. The chapter also talks about deal breakers, suggesting you reflect on whether certain annoying behaviors are things you could really live with over time. There's even a scientific approach to influencing your partner, which highlights the importance of giving them space to reflect on their actions, and it outlines some timeframes for possible change. The author really dives into the idea of self-love here and explains just how crucial it is to have a healthy relationship with ourselves. By the end of the chapter, we learn that true self-love gives us the strength to build meaningful relationships with others. It's a reminder that we're responsible for our own happiness and should choose relationships that are healthy and uplifting. This part is pretty inspiring, honestly, and encourages us to empower ourselves by using the let them theory. The author uses the image of a changing sky to show how people often try to control things they really can't, like what others do and how that just leads to frustration. Even if we can't change everything around us, we can always control how we respond and make our lives better. It's about taking back control, focusing on our own growth, following our goals without worrying about what others might think, and really taking charge of our own happiness. The author asks us to think about how much time we waste worrying about other people, and instead encourages us to say let me to opportunities for growth and joy. The main takeaway is pretty clear: true freedom comes from realizing our own strength, and that can lead to a life that feels authentic and rewarding. Mel Robbins shares her thoughts about the let them theory, especially when it comes to empowering others, like your kids or even your team members, to build strong relationships and encourage growth. She points out just how important it is to give children and teams some freedom, promoting the theory as a forward-thinking tool, rather than a way to control everything. Robbins really stresses that real guidance should help create bonds based on trust and connection, which is super important for healthy child development and effective teamwork. The text also takes a moment to thank the team that helped bring her new book to life, highlighting the value of teamwork and gratitude in both our personal and work lives. Plus, Robbins offers free resources for parents and leaders, inviting everyone to check out how the let them theory can transform their relationships and make a real difference at home and at work.